Heyo, this is a 21 Uldaman Tyrannical week. I don't remember what the other two affixes were because it's like a week old, but yeah, first of all, I want to apologize for the lack of uploads. I have not been doing that many keys in the past few weeks, and the pugs that I did do have been either a headache or just I didn't record. My Mythic Plus team is more or less on a hiatus thanks to Diablo 4 and other reasons. So yeah, I haven't been running that many keys, and this is one of the more interesting ones where I want to show this one because Uldaman on Tyrannical can be quite the headache. Packs aren't that really hard, it's just the if you could survive the bosses, you're fine. Because every boss except for the first one, the Dwarf Trio combo, is very, very, very rough. So I'm gonna do a comms, post-game comms over this. If you prefer this kind of video over just default in-game sound and my occasional grumble over what my teammates were doing, leave a notice in the comments which you preferred, of course. I'm playing alongside a Feral and a Frosty K, who, funny enough, was trying out his two-handed obliteration build for the first time in this dungeon. He said after the run, and you can notice that it was his first time playing this because his damage at one point it was on par with the tank, which is not good, especially in this dungeon. Thankfully, in single target he did perform better, but in AoE situations it was rough. Thankfully, it's Tyrannical week, so single target was kind of what mattered in the end the most.
Watch your feet.
If you don't have a Bloodlust in the group besides yourself, you should definitely run a Bloodlust pet. But if you do have a Bloodlust, like in our group, you can see we have a Shaman. I'm running a Basilisk, not a Basilisk, a Lizard pet, which is Tenacity, which gives me access to more HP, and the on-use Bear Fortitude ability, which is just a flat out 20% heal or 30% heal and a slight increase in HP for a short while, which is very, very good for both the Snake boss, the Trog boss, the Golem boss, and of course the last boss. But I'll be saying it when to use what exactly when we get to the bosses themselves as well. One thing I also want to point out here is you have a Dispel, and if you miss a kick on one of these Basilisk creatures that put the Spike Carpassi on themselves, not sure what to call that, you can soothe that or dispel that, which is pretty helpful. So if you don't trust your pugs, you can focus on kicking one and then dispelling the other one. But even if you don't, the Spike Carpassi doesn't do that much damage, so it's okay. The only bad thing that might happen is your pet kills itself while hitting the same mob or hitting that mob. Another important kick slash stun in these pulls are the mob that casts Chain Lightning. I'm not sure what the name of the mob is. One of the Trogs, of course. The same Trog is also then on the boss itself, the Trog boss. And the stone spikes that he throws aren't that deadly, but the Chain Lightning hits everybody for a nice chunk of damage, which on fortified high keys, can be lethal to some, especially if they're not full HP. There you can see me utilizing my Coltarian racial. Coltarians aren't the best races when it comes to Mythic Plus. They're good in kind of raid scenarios because you do a lot of healing with one of the passive abilities you have as a Coltarian, but if you're really looking to min-max, the best race you can get from Mythic Plus is either a Default Dwarf or Dark Iron Dwarf, because there's a lot of poison, bleeds, diseases and whatnot that you can kind of just save yourself and remove it with your stone skin. Best example is the Snake boss, third boss in this dungeon, because the bleed hits for a lot. And just having a free bleed removal every 2 minutes can be a lifesaver. if you don't know, normally people skip the trio boss first and go straight for this guy. So you can use Bloodlust ASAP. And because on the first boss, in the dwarf combo, it's not really worth it. Oh yeah, I think the Death Knight died here because he's still in the thing. Oh well. Because the dwarf bosses aren't really that deadly. There's nothing scary about them as long as you don't stand in front of the cleave. If you pop a defense in when you get the shield throw on you, you should be fine. You can see, as I mentioned, there's the chain lightning mob over there. There's not really talk about much on this boss. You just preferentially cleave this Trog down first, and of course when the totem has full priority, when you spawn you just start blasting it ASAP. It's also good if you can save your Fury of the Eagle for the totem, because you can just kind of spam it down alongside the ads on the boss as it appears. But you shouldn't be saving buttons for, or like, you shouldn't be saving Fury of the Eagle because you get it up, I think, almost every totem anyway. So it isn't that big of a deal. Also, I want to apologize for my commentary. I have never done this sort of thing, but I do want to test it out to see what it's like. If you're hearing this, that means I decided it's good enough. If you don't hear this, then it doesn't matter. Like I said, the totem is up, Fury of the Eagle is up as well, which is good. But I decided to press the Coordinate Assault because I had it up as well at the same time. Didn't pay attention now. But with Fury of the Eagle, not sure if you know, there is a nice macro / weak core combo that you get, which basically makes sure that every single AoE kill shot you do leaves bleed on everybody, because that bleed is the one thing that deals a ton of damage. The bomb combo or the bomb bonus ability that you get is not that important, but the bleed one is very, very good and very important. You can see that one of the mobs that the monk used the paralyze on got woken up by the Death Knight's Breath of Sindragosa, or not Breath of Sindragosa, Frosting Fury, so I just retrapped it. Normally you don't want to trap these mobs because you're just going to get overwhelmed, but if you're like in the last 15-20% of the boss, you should just go ahead and nuke. And just trap the ads on the casting ads on the side. I'm not sure. Oh, I saw that the monk had the Rashok polearm that I don't have yet, so I just wanted to see how much damage it dealt in this boss fight. I don't remember what exactly it was, but it was there somewhere. That was the Trog boss, nothing too special about it. Just bomb away, cleave away. On this boss as well, you don't make sure to stand behind them, of course, because they can be quite scary. One neat thing that you can keep in mind, that this big boy, the shield guy, the moment he throws the shield for the first time, he will immediately do his shielding cast as well, so you can be basically immediately ready to interrupt. One little thing that people don't realize, or I think that people don't realize, is these bombs are not randomly placed, they go onto people. So if you're ranged, even as a melee, you do not want to stand in the middle of it. You want to basically make a nice clear path around the room, just like you would with the last boss in Freehold, to basically make as much space as possible before the next bombardment, of course. As you saw again, the guy did the shield throw and he immediately did the cast, but because the Feral used his stealth, he cancelled the first shield throw and then did the shield cast. We kicked it, and then immediately afterwards he did another shield throw. Not much to talk about on this boss, just plain simple triple target cleave down. Very good for Fury of the Eagle. Very, very good. But the Feral we have in our group did a lot of damage as well. I I think I only caught up to him in the end by not ahead, but caught up to him. I think it's because he died on a boss or on a pole, a very big pole. But yeah. Also on this boss, you want to obviously clean him down as much as possible together. So, because the moment one guy reaches 10%, he jumps into the ship and does constant air bombardment. So last thing you want to do is nuke 2 and leave one guy up basically forever. So try to evenly cleave. Try to have the lowest guy targeted with the shred armor kill command force hit ability, and bomb basically him as well, and just let those bombs cleave up on the others. One little nice info, if you don't know on these guys is the snake mobs. They gain stacks just like the boss, and they lose the stacks when they get stunned, but only by certain abilities. For example, if I use intimidation on these guys, they don't lose the buffs. If I use my kill turn punch, they lose it. I don't know what exactly the requirements are for the stun to be effective in removing those buffs, but yeah, as you saw, my punch knocked the win out of him, knocked his buff out of him. One also scary thing is this entry room to the third boss, the snake boss, is a bit bugged when it comes to pets. It doesn't, your pet doesn't walk through it, it teleports through it. So the worst thing that your tank can do is basically pull the boss as he's kiting mobs through that area, because that means either A, your pet's gonna get stuck, or B, your pet is gonna basically despawn, so you need to resummon it again. Rather have it despawn, because dismissing and resummoning is a lot more of a hassle than just resummoning it. And I've had a couple occasions where I summoned it in the room and it just immediately got stuck on the wall. I do not like this room, it's very buggy when it comes to pets especially. But one thing I want to point out that's very important in this boss is I've seen a lot of people not do this boss correctly, because what you want to do is the boss has 2 stacks of shield every single pull, or after every single stun. He has 2 stacks of a shield. You want to kite him through, or your tank is supposed to kite him through these orbs to remove those 2 things, and then before the boss does either a slam or his empowerment bullshit, that's when you stun him. You don't want to keep him dragging constantly, or you don't want to like keep him constantly CC'd or like stunned, because after every stun he empowers himself, like just 5% DPS increase or something like that. And I've had a couple of times already on this dungeon on high tyrannical, or like high tyrannical 21s, 22s, is where people just kept walking him through it. So the boss at 60%, he already had 5 or 6 stacks because he just kept getting CC'd. You want to stun him as little as possible, but enough to stun him during these crushing stomps, because they hurt like a truck. One little neat trick that you can also do as a hunter is I've seen people use turtle only as a oh shit, like as a panic button, but you can use it as a good proper way to basically just stop attacks as well. You can see that earlier on one of those stomps I pressed turtle, because I just avoid 60 to 70% of my HP and damage. It's that easy. There you can see I used my Kultura punch because the boss was he immediately did an empowerment cast after he got stunned, so a bit glitchy, but yeah, we managed to pull off in the end. If you have a paladin in your group, you can also tell him to bop the person that gets the bleed on them. A lot of people also don't know that bop removes bleeds, which is a very good thing. There you can see I naturally dodged the slam, which is very good. I think it happens twice in this run. Don't know if it happened in the beginning as well. Yeah, there you go, second one. Because these slams are very, very deadly. This boss is like deadly in general. The slam on top of the bleed like takes for 1.5, 2 times your HP at this level, I think. So it is very, very healing intensive. So any natural or avoids or dodges on those slams is much appreciated. Alright, here comes the scary AoE Stoneman. As a hunter, you have access to intimidation, or yeah, I think it's intimidation, the pet stun. You have scatter shot and you have freezing trap to deal with those. One thing that you should keep in mind is if you use a scatter shot on one of the mobs, it removes every kind of bleeds, every kind of poisons, every kind of diseases on those mobs, which in this group I don't think it really matters that much. Okay, it does for the Feral, but I get an earful every time I have to use scatter shot for my Shadow Priest that I run keys with, is especially if he's in the middle of popping his CDs, because then he just has to reapply dots before he can continue blasting, which is a little bit annoying for him. But you know what, I'd rather have him struggle with that and stay alive than everybody be dead because we missed a hailstone that just nuked us from the back. And of course, as a Cold Terran Hunter, I also have access to the Haymaker Punch ratio, which is pretty fun to use. There's a lot of on these mobs. You kind of wanna focus kicking the curse, because for the shields, again, you can just dispel with your tranquilizing shot, so it's not big of a deal. And the other guys are just stone pellets, the hailstones. But yeah, you wanna curse has the priority kick, because if the curse goes off, first of all, when he casts curse, he puts a curse debuff on the person, and if that curse fully goes off, that person gets stunned. Which if it's a healer, then you're kind of screwed. Even as DPS or tank, like everybody is kind of screwed. There you can see me scattershot one of the hailstones. Don't think it was necessary. Would have probably been better if you used if I used freezing trap. But the one downside is in these big packs, using freezing trap is kind of RNG. Either you hit the one you want to hit, or it just hits around the mob instead.
Watch your feet.
Also, one thing to keep a note during Sanguine Week, such as it was in this video, you can, if you really want to min-max, you can use a Mortal Wound pet, the one I have right now as well, the Blizzard. So if a mob does stay in Sanguini for a little bit too long, he won't heal as much. I think the biggest example of Mortal Wound I can give is during the Zakali invasion raid boss. We got the boss down to about 20% or 25% before he went to the middle. And without the Mortal Wound debuff, he healed himself back to 50 or 60%. With the Mortal Wound debuff, he healed only to 30-ish something. 35 to 40. So it does make a big difference, the Mortal Wound. It's hard to notice in these quick Mythic Plus dungeons where everything gets nuked down, but a 30 to 40% healing on a boss is quite noticeable. Also, I kind of love this pack before this next boss, is because everything is cluttered up. There's no frontals to dodge, there's nothing. As long as you just make sure you kick the screeches from the bats, everything is a-okay. Yeah, but here comes also, I would say the scariest boss. I don't know, like this one and the snake are both very scary. I don't know which one I fear the most. But again, one thing to keep in notice is you can turtle one of those things. I think I'll do it in this fight as well. I had to do it. We have obviously hero for this one as well. Yeah, we have a bit of a rough comp because we have triple melee, me, the DK, and the Feral. But it worked out in the end. I think one person died, but it was still fine at the end. But as a survival hunter, you can obviously just kind of run away a bit as well. Because you can just kind of just kill command and bomb from the back, so you can just kind of leave the space for the other two. But ideally in this fight, you have, you saw me turtle there, just like I said. But ideally for this fight, you want to have either acceleration up, the Fortitude healing ability, Survival of the Fittest, or Turtle. You should, and I think you will always have one up for one of those explosions. Plus a healing potion, of course. Because first two of those blasts should be fine for a healer, but everything else afterwards is just pure chaos. Save yourself type of situations. So that's why it's kind of good to be in comms with the healer as well, or I prefer being in comms, so that's why I kind of don't like bugs. Is because I have no idea if the healer has something, if he's gonna be able to see me, save me. Yeah. I didn't use anything there because I think I saw the healer. Oh no. He put the chain tone down, plus I used the healing potion as well. But for this one, I pop Survival of the Fittest because surviving is key, as is the spec name called. Even though we are one of the more squishier ones. Here I don't have anything, so I just kind of pray that my healer is gonna keep me alive. And this one is just, again, pray. But we have a good healer. Healer managed to pull us through this. One thing I kind of don't like about this boss fight is as my pet is hitting one of those totems, before the pet is like able to reach next one of these big golems, it takes a second, you know, it's a DPS loss. I kind of don't like it. I wish my pet had a jet engine strapped to it, so it would be faster at moving from one mob to another. But no, I'm not gonna complain too much. I love Dog. He's a nice pet. Not gonna complain. Yeah, but it is pretty fun harpooning from one mob to another. If it wasn't for the new tier set, we still had the old tier set, I wouldn't be complaining right now, because I kind of reliant on my kill command plus bomb combo. While the previous tier was basically just mongoose, mongoose, mongoose. Take him around the wrong way. Yeah, wrong way. Disengage back. Alright, this last part is not as scary. If you clear up to this point, you really shouldn't have any issues, as long as you have, let's say, enough time left. 12 minutes, as we have right now, is more than enough to kill one boss and clear the rest of the 30-40-ish% that we're missing. Do keep in mind that these big golems that you see over here, is you can line aside their thunderclap. On tyrannical keys, it doesn't do that much damage, but on high fortitude, that will more or less deal 80 to 90, if not more, % of your HP. So it is wise to line aside that and basically save your healer troubles of correcting your mistakes. But in this scenario, we kind of have to pull the large golem back so people can line aside. I just pop a defensive, Survival of the Fittest, to make sure I don't take too much damage, because line asiding this is a pain. And also downside is of pulling mobs like this is, this week it was Sanguine, so if you don't correctly pull back and he does Thunderclap, he basically heals for a little bit. But the good thing is I had my Blizzard pet, which meant that the mob healed for at least 10 to 20% less. So it saves you a few seconds. And over time, you know, those seconds stack up, and it can potentially even save you a minute, which can be the difference between timing or depleting the key. It's kind of annoying, this pull, because as the mobs are gathered up, the big mob does the shield thingy. If it just put a depot honey, I wouldn't mind, but the fact that it's constantly ticking on you, you can't really afford to stand it for too long. And again, be careful where you're standing on these packs, because you have those cleave mobs in there. On this key level, they more or less just one-shot you with those cleaves. So just make sure to always stand behind the tank, know where he's standing. Careful if he starts to kind of kite around. But this is also a very nice pack to have Fury the Eagle on, which I already used. Yeah, Here we have two of these big golems. A bit scary. You do definitely need to line side both of these, even on tyrannical keys, because sure you can survive one, but if the second one happens, second one does happen shortly after, and if you tank basically both, you're not gonna make it. I was standing a little bit too close on the second thunderclap, and I took damage, if you saw. But again, if it's just one, it's no big deal. On the fortified, it will be a big deal, but tyrannical, it's excusable. It can happen. It's fine. Here we have a little bit of sanguini. I really don't like this affix. I was wondering how the the feral was doing so much cleave damage if you pop the CD or something. I don't know feral. I don't know how they work exactly. I played it back in Legion for a little bit, but that's a very little bit. Here we have another scary pack, which is the big golem, the empowering dwarf, and then the a bunch of those curse casters. I think a cleave as well. Don't remember. So you just kind of want to make sure you stand behind again, have your kicks, your stun, your scatter shots, freezing traps, all that ready. I think I so good. No, okay, I dodged the thunderclap. Good. Good job, me. I think what most people opt to do in this dungeon is pull a little bit extra at the beginning. And by beginning I mean like the first room that you enter after the key starts. So you can kind of skip the pack before this last boss, because it is a lot more scary and a lot more time consuming to pull. Especially with the haste reduction that they cast on you. So what people do is they just pull these 4 packs together and then stealth / abyss through up until the last boss. The mob that is currently marked with the skull leaves a, or does constant AoE magic debuffs on everybody, which not only damages you, or, like leaves a nasty dot, it also removes your hate, or like, yeah, it removes your haste by quite a substantial amount. So what you can either do is either have healer dispel you have a priest that can mass dispel, or you just line aside the cast and wait for the dot to basically tick away. It's only a few seconds, so it's not a big deal. The tank is asking people have in the spots, but as a hunter you have access to camouflage, but it's the same thing as the rogue stealth. It's not safe. You can still kind of go through mobs easily, but if you just scrape them a little bit with camouflage, you can potentially pull them, which is not good. I think the best example of that was trying to sneak through to the chest area in the Upper Karazhan dungeon in last season, or the last season of Shadowlands. Having PTSD just thinking about it. And here's the last boss. One thing that you can keep a notice is this time sync debuff that he puts on everybody. As a hunter, you can just disengage all of them. You don't have to worry a thing about it. You wait for the dot to be placed on you, then you just simply disengage, and that's it. You save the trouble of the either priest, healer, or whoever dispelling it on you, and you can just kind of be self-sufficient, which is very good. Same thing you can do if you're a paladin. You can, if you have any root / slow removals, which is Blessing of Freedom. It also, I think it also removes it. I'm like 99% sure. And here we have hero combo with this. I have pre-pot ready in a few seconds as well. I think I'll use, hopefully. I'm very bad at remembering when to use pre-pot. I kind of just keep or lose track of it. I should get a weak roll for that in the middle of the screen or something. What you can also do is, if you're a bit low HP, you can use the turtle right before he does the knockback cast, because again, it's random key, these things hurt. Even if you're like, you can tank just fine, you're 100% HP, it puts a little bit of stress onto your healer, which, yeah, the less stress on the healer the better, especially on in this key. specifically.
Range 5.
You saw me again. I got a cast. I immediately disengaged. Save myself a nice chunk of taking damage. Just keep in mind it puts a thingy majiggy on the ground, a thing that hits everybody. So you don't want to disengage, or you do not want to stand on the tank at all, for more than one reason, of course. But this tank is doing a pretty good job of hiding the boss. Everybody's standing nicely packed together as well, so we're not
Knocking back.
filling the room too much. Unfortunately, there I got caught by Volcanic as as the knockback happened, and then the bear, by accident, unluckily, also gets caught up by Volcanic as the thingy majigs are getting placed on the ground.
Knocking back.
Okay. I had Turtle there. I could use Turtle. I don't think I noticed or I didn't pay attention, but yeah. Don't forget to use Turtle, guys. To save your healers in trouble. But not much to talk about in this boss fight. It's very straightforward. Make sure you path or walk positionally. You don't stand in random areas of the room. You let the tank basically kite them alongside the walls, and you stand towards the center-ish. You do not like block off the tank with the little thingamajigs that you place on the ground over time. There I used Turtle.
Range 5.
Could have also, I still have a acceleration, I have Thrall the Fittest, I have the Bear Fortitude, so I am more than good enough when it comes to healing. So even if the other guys die, me and the tank should be able to survive for a bit. Yeah, this was a pretty
Knocking
fun dungeon. If you can see the overall, as I said at the beginning, the Frost Decay. Not a good place to experiment builds for the first time, because he is. Luckily for us, the monk tank did a lot of damage. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you prefer these types of commentaries, please let me know. Bye bye.